I think that one day people are going to ask me how the hell I figured any of this stuff out. Like, how did you figure out that? Maybe some thing I said that actually was wise. And maybe it's 20 years from now and I'm 60, and so it seems reasonable that an old guy might be wise. And yet, it's kind of like, but you know me. And you know how childlike I am, and you know how much fun I have. And so you're going to ask, like, how the hell did you come up with that? And you won't want to put it that way because it sounds like, how did an idiot like you figure out something brilliant like that? Let's say. Let's say that someday in 20 years, maybe I occasionally utter something brilliant after all this effort. I mean, I'm not trying to be brilliant. I'm trying to be useful. I'm trying to figure things out for myself, but I'm also trying to share it. You wouldn't hear any of this if I wasn't trying to be useful. I mean, some of it's trying to figure it out using your airspace. And that's probably the unappealing ones. And I think I can feel the difference. When I'm not in denial. But I just thought I'd offer the simple answer to that question. Maybe in case it never gets asked in person, because people are too polite. Or in case I'm always flubbing the answer, or in case anyone here in this forum, the not in-person forum, would like to know the answer to that question. Because the answer is very simple, and I think anyone who's watched me from the beginning, I mean, anyone who's seen a lot of my videos stemming back toward the first ones probably knows the answer pretty damn well, which is, quite simply, that I have been really, really, really stupid. A lot. So that's how. The way that a stupid person can come up with some brilliant things is by being really stupid. A lot. A lot. And by iterating through many, many identities. Am I a smart guy or am I a dumb guy? Because, of course, it's neither and both. I think that's how I maximize my utility for myself and others, and my sense of purpose and place. It's foregoing the identity along intelligence or sanity lines. And rather than figuring out for sure exactly where I can map myself on those various spectra, just kind of accepting that it's the multitudes. That my song of myself contains a lot of moments of brilliance and moments of stupidity and everything in between. And some of them are actually conditional upon each other. Some moments of brilliance actually require a moment of stupidity. You can't have an aha moment with a train barreling down on you unless you're kind of an idiot. But, you know, if you can leap out of the way at the last minute and write it down before you forget and clean your pants, it's maybe the next E equals MC squared. Einstein apparently had the uncanny ability. Actually, I don't know how uncanny it was. He had the ability to follow along and participate in conversations while he was walking and talking with people and simultaneously working on his theories in his mind. So that's a good example of mashing them up and doing both. I mean, he didn't have to be an idiot in order to be brilliant, but I hope you see my point. Watch the School of Life video on how people's flaws are necessarily their strengths. Everything that you hate about a loved one is a necessary corollary. It's a necessary concomitant, actually. I was trying to think, what's that word that they used stupidly in The Matrix? Where he starts talking gobbledygook, and if you actually look at what he says, most of it is like redundant overuse and even slight misuse of the terms. But In any case, if only they had been being more deliberately tongue-in-cheek, it would have been brilliant, but sadly they weren't. Anyway, a concomitant is something that necessarily goes with, I think. And so, yeah, every single thing that you hate about someone that you love is the other side of a coin of something that you love about them. I mean, I'm thinking of my most recent major lover, and it applies. It's perfect. I don't know how to advise you on realizing this better in real time, but I'm hoping that you can at the very least recognize its truth in theory. Being brilliant and being an idiot sometimes are necessary concomitants. I mean, just think about the history of genius and autism, right? What else is autism except being, like, socially about as stupid as you can get, interpersonally, and even with regard to your own emotions in case of, like, real autism. But even Asperger's, you know, is like, it's kind of just being socially retarded. So, assuming I haven't stepped on too many toes already, and you can still even think, because, you know, many of us like to get ourselves distracted when we hear something we think is incorrect and miss the bigger point, which is actually kind of a feature of being on the spectrum. It takes one to know one. So, yeah. You know, missing the forest for the trees. Not seeing the broader context. Not seeing what's going on socially, like right here. Or even, you know, philosophically or whatever. Not hearing what people mean, listening to what they say instead of what they mean. No one speaks accurately. No one uses the appropriate terminology for whatever they're trying to say. Almost never. And to do so is to sound like a complete and fucking geek. Like, it's dysfunctional to attempt to use the exact correct terms for the ideas that you're trying to spout. Whatever you're trying to communicate to anyone, if you try and use precise language, you're being antisocial. Just talk human. Say it however you say it and let it come out. Relax. Take her easy. You're putting a lot of effort into ostracizing yourself because you need an identity. But identity flexibility might be something worth trying. Especially as we start to realize that everything that we hate about ourselves is probably a necessary concomitant of something that we love about ourselves and that we want to amplify. The very amplification of which would amplify the thing that we hate that we can't see is connected on the other side of that coin. And with that, I'm going to stop this video and try and think about myself for a minute.